President of the United States has called Mexican immigrants rapists and criminals, he then went on to call asylum seekers animals and an infestation.
You like to turn the page and then try to rearrange just a thing or two. Close my mind. Though I'm gonna find a way, point out all the BS you say, believe me, it's true. Tell me lies. Yeah, tell me lies, tell me D&T lies. Tell me lies, tell me lies. Your little talking points you can't disguise. Can't disguise, no you can't disguise. Tell me lies, tell me seeing and lies. We can see you are making plans, confuse us so we don't understand all the reasons why.
In fact, FBI agents sent an informant to talk to two campaign advisors only
TDS has broken your heart, so you try to tear us apart. Can we give truth a try? Tell us lies, tell us seeing and lies. Tell us lies, out of context you try to disguise. Tell us lies, tell us D&T lies. Tell us lies. Hey man. Okay, so it's working right now.
Obama's arrangements and a horrible day.
Wait a minute, I'm not finished. I'm not finished, Victor.
Okay. You try to turn the page, take what was said and then rearrange just a thing or two. Close my
You see me?
Without your light you can't find a way. So you say what he did and say though we can see it's true.
When I say the MS-13, you don't have that.
Tell us lies, tell us seeing and lies.
You have Skype on there too?
Tell us lies, out of context you try to disguise.
MS-13 is particularly violent.
You try to disguise. Tell us lies, tell us D&T lies. Tell us lies, won't you tell us lies? You leave a talking point you can't disguise. Can't disguise, so you tell us lies. Tell us lies, tell us TDS lies. Tell us lies, won't you tell us lies? You live a talking point you can't disguise. Can't disguise, so you tell us lies. Tell us lies, tell us TDS lies.
To this country. When the President of the United States has called Mexican immigrants rapists and criminals, he then went on to call asylum seekers animals and an infestation.
You like to turn the page and then try to rearrange just a thing or two. Yeah. Okay. Well,
here we go.
Go
Hold on, so we're live now. So, hey, it's over, everybody. It's over. We can all go home now. The Mueller report came out. It said that Trump is not guilty of collusion or obstruction, and so we can all just go home now, right? It's all over. Yeah.
Yeah. It's done.
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
What? Wait.
So yeah, I don't think it's
Rob
over.
too.
Just do what?
I'm here.
Oh, awesome!
no,
we got everybody.
I
Sweet.
kept hearing the ringing and thought it was something else. I was jamming out to the music. So.
What's up, Robert? How are you, brother?
Yeah, great to meet you, man. Great to meet you.
meet you
I'm
too,
good.
man. Great to meet you too.
And Hangouts is working. Everybody's switching back and forth as it should. Like, okay, everybody, nothing was working, and then I just said, "Fuck it, let's go live." Fuck it, just go live, and everything's working now.
Here. Watch your mouth, man. Watch
Yeah.
your mouth.
Oh, sorry. I was just doing my Bill O'Reilly impression.
Hey, what's going on? Is the trigger warning dude going to be in?
He is not, because they're actually getting ready to go live. I just spoke with them actually. They wanted to come on, but we're going to do it again. They're on a different. They're in London, so they're on a completely different time zone, and they're doing their show right now. So by the time we're getting ready, they're getting ready too. So we'll do it again, like probably next week or something. We'll do an early show.
Okay, cool. That'll be fun.
So, yeah. Awesome. So let's just dive into this BS.
I know. Can we get the duct tape out first, though? Because I think my head's about ready to flip and explode.
Yeah,
I'm
for
not
those of
even
you. Yeah, for those of you that don't know SJG here, he's the guy who put together that song, the amazing CNN Live song that my wife and I cannot get out of our heads. It's just every morning I wake up and there it is. Every morning.
You know what? That's so funny too. And I got my guitar sitting right behind me over here. So if I get too freaked out, I might just do a spontaneous song today too to this stupid CNN shit.
Yeah, that would be freaking awesome, actually.
It will be completely. What do they call that? Poetry, free flow poetry.
Free flow. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it will be.
Freestyling. So, yeah, real quick, I just wanted to talk about. So CNN, right off the bat today, is just lying there. As soon as it came out, so I took my daughter to the zoo today, but of course I'm on my phone like the whole time. And CNN posting out on Twitter right off the bat saying, "Oh, well, you remember back when Trump said when he asked the Russians to hack Hillary's emails?" And it's like he never said anything about hacking their emails. He at the time, the controversy. Oh, go ahead, Rob.
Okay, it's one of the things that the Democrats have totally lost their minds, and they don't understand joking anymore. So they have to pretend when someone says something that it's a joke, they have to take it completely serious. For anyone who remembers that press conference, or it was a rally.
Well, he didn't say anything about hacking, is the thing. The emails were already deleted.
That's right, and he's making fun of the fact that Hillary got away with obstructing justice,
I know.
deleting subpoenaed emails, and he's saying, hey, we have no chance of getting him because the FBI is inept or corrupt, so maybe if Russia has him, we'll finally have a chance to see him.
Right, and why does everyone get away? What crazy upside down world do we live in where they are mad at Trump for asking for emails that Hillary got rid of? Okay, hello, can we not please talk about the fact that she deleted 35,000 emails?
Yes,
Right,
and that's the irony.
And she had deleted the emails to hide them. And even when he made that joke, which was an obvious joke, when I first heard it, I knew it was a joke. But he's like, and then he's like, Russia, if you have those emails, you should give them to the media. He didn't say give them to my campaign. He said give them to the media so they could report on it.
Right. Unredacted.
Right.
Right. And by the way, just for those that don't know, those emails, those were supposedly just emails about yoga. That's what Hillary said. That has nothing to do with the supposed hack of the WikiLeaks release of the DNC and the Podesta emails. Those are completely different emails. And so the claim that Democrats are trying to make that, oh, Trump, by using this joke, he said, hey, Russia, hack Hillary and release our emails. And then they did. No, that's not what happened at all. Supposedly this hack happened even before Trump said that. And the joke he was talking about was the same joke that people like us were talking, which was, oh, Hillary deleted just emails about yoga. Yeah, right. I wish someone would have actually, because the server was unsecure. It's too bad someone didn't get that information and show us all that she's a liar.
And can we please be honest on this one? There's no way in hell that Hillary does yoga. Come on.
And she does yoga in her pantsuit. Like, she goes to the yoga place and she's like literally in one of her like Mao get-ups doing yoga.
Oh.
So, I mean, Robert, what do you think? I mean, so we all knew that this would not be the end of it, right? It's not going to be the end. They're going to keep the narrative up. And, Mueller, I hope he does have to get up and testify because he kind of planted stuff in that would allow them, like give them, the rationalization they would need to continue this narrative that he obstructed justice now. That's the big thing, because obviously there's no collusion. But here's obviously the obvious question is, if there was never any collusion, what did he obstruct?
Right. Yeah, that's the obvious question. The number one thing to remember for everyone who's looking into this day is one of the things is, and you know this better than anyone, Dronetek, because you've been doing videos like the media and their shadiness for years. They lie so fast that it's hard to focus in on just how
so many lies.
Individual stories, and so they want us to just talk about obstruction and forget the fact that they lied about collusion for 2.5 years.
Right.
They lied.
No, but Robert, here's the beautiful thing. I was listening to it on the way home, and they're basically saying, literally, Chris Como in a Como is saying, he's going off saying that we were right about everything we said. This report is proving that everything we said was right.
Right.
He's literally saying that. That is the narrative they're pushing. And what he's saying is that we never said there was going to necessarily be collusion, but we said there was some shady shit and unsavory stuff going on. And that is what this report is proving right now. It's proven it beyond a shadow of a doubt. And to the obstruction of justice thing, what they're saying is he asked people within his administration to do things that were quote unquote obstruction of justice, but they quit. And since they quit, no obstruction of justice occurred because he basically was asking them to do it and they didn't want to perjure themselves.
Right.
So.
Right, but here's the thing that gets me is that, like, Robert, or not Robert, Nadler, whatever the hell his first name is, he, back when Comey was investigating Hillary, he was out there on CNN telling Obama to fire Comey. And I remember there's a CNN interview where I think he's talking to Anderson Cooper, and he's like, Obama should fire Comey. And Cooper goes, no, you can't do that. And he goes, yes, he can. He's the president. So, like, what the hell?
How wasn't that obstruction on Nadler's part then? If he's trying to get the person fired who's heading the investigation. When Trump does it, it's obstruction. When Democrats do it, it's not. Yeah. And you look at all the examples of obstruction that actually happened. We have, for example, if Trump firing Comey's obstruction, then Rosenstein recommending that firing also should be obstruction. Then when Obama used executive privilege to protect Eric Holder, that would be obstruction.
Yep.
When Hillary deleted subpoenaed evidence, that would be obstruction. And it just goes on and on.
Right.
What they're really trying to say is, we don't like Trump, and we were wrong about the Russia collusion. This has been a witch hunt from the get-go, and so this is just our new way of spinning it. That's it. They're not going to charge Trump criminally. This is all about setting up a possible impeachment precedent or just hurting Trump in the election. And I hope that the people are smart enough to not fall for it.
Yeah, well, and they're covering their asses because, look, for like you said, for the last 2 years, and there are multiple examples of them getting on and just doing these long, like, monologues, where they're like, Trump is in trouble. He's feeling the heat. He's going down. He's a Russian agent. And that was like a drumbeat for 2 whole years. And so now they have to, their credibility is literally gone. But guess what? They are the guardians of information. And so it's like, what are they going to do? Start a campaign against themselves? Of course not.
No, they're gonna spin it so it fits themselves. Hey,
Right.
Drone, your mic is kind of distorting. You might want to. I don't know if you can turn it down just a hair.
Okay, we'll do.
It's just distorting just a hair.
Thank
but,
you.
No, yeah, for sure.
Is
Yeah,
that
and
better?
I mean, when you can,
Yeah, that's
when
way
you
better.
consider all these claims of obstruction, they all stem from the same. So, in order to prove obstruction, you have to have, I believe, the term it uses is corrupt intent, right? And now this is funny because in the Hillary investigation with Comey, there is nothing in that statute that says anything about intent of her like taking home a private server. But in this case, there actually is. You have to prove corrupt intent. So, what a prosecutor would have to prove is that it's beyond a reasonable doubt that the reason Trump took the act he did was because he was trying to start an investigation that would self guilt of some crime. Well, it's usually established of the underlying crime. So that's already incredibly diminishing to the case. But the second thing is there's a very reasonable explanation for all the actions he took. We know without a shadow of a doubt that there were leaks and that the media was using this, and the Democrats obviously, to attack his administration, the entire length of his administration. So any normal person's going to be pissed off and say, I want this to end. I know I'm innocent. It's costing millions of dollars and it's affecting my agenda. And if that's a reasonable explanation, then there is no obstruction of justice because his intent wasn't to stop an investigation from finding justice. It was to stop a corrupt investigation from derailing his administration for a crime he was innocent of.
Right, and as Barr said, and the media calls this that they're setting him up. He's spinning the narrative. When he came out and he said that Trump, he let all of his people go and speak freely to the FBI. He exerted no executive privilege. It's like if he was really trying to stop, he would have done something. He would have exerted some sort of executive privilege. He did none of that. And he did. And it does look like he was freaking out a little bit. I would be too if I knew that I was innocent and this whole cabal of the media and everybody's trying to take you out. That's crazy shit.
No, and that's the thing that I don't. That the other thing that they're making this big deal about, that he was all upset because they were going to do this. They were going in this and or diving into this investigation and doing this. When the reality was, he's like, this is totally distracting from my presidency and the things I want to get done, and this is all a bunch of crap. And so of course he was pushing back, and he probably, given him the benefit of the doubt, he's never been a president before. He doesn't know all the ins and outs of what he can and can't.
He's not a politician. He's never been a politician before.
Right. So, I mean, giving him the benefit of the doubt on that, it's like, okay, of course he's going to be mad and he's going to be outraged about the fact that they're pushing this narrative that he knows is completely fake and BS. So, and then they're like, he was upset and asking people to stop doing it. Well, what the hell would you be doing, dude? What the hell would you be doing if you were president and people were saying that you pissed all over you were pissing all over a prostitute, and you knew it wasn't true, right?
Right.
You'd be kipping up a niption. That's not even a word.
And speaking of that, and in the report, they conclude, they debunk that dossier. So, I mean, shouldn't that be like the crux of any investigation going forward? If that's a fake document, it launched this entire thing.
Well, talking about that in terms of obstruction. So here's a question I haven't seen anyone ask or answer. We now know, based on Barr's statements, that there's going to be an investigation into the FBI and Obama's administration for their starting of the FBI Russia investigation. So here's a question for everyone. Let's say we find Trump guilty of obstruction right now. But then a year later, once that investigation's done, it turns out, whoops, there was massive corruption at the FBI, and it actually was a witch hunt from the get-go. Well, now is Trump guilty of corruption? Because he had a reasonable belief that there was shady stuff going on. I mean, it was been public knowledge for how long now that one of the core pieces of evidence used against him was this dossier that was paid for by the DNC and never verified, still not verified today. So how obstruct justice when you know that there's a corrupt, unjust investigation coming after you? And even if you would say, well, wait, he didn't know that for sure, it doesn't matter because you have to prove corrupt intent. So they would have to prove to prosecute him that he intentionally committed a crime and was trying to cover it up. If he had a reasonable belief and knew he didn't commit the crime, which we know he knew, and a reasonable belief that it was a witch hunt and that there was shady stuff going on in the investigation, then of course he had every right to be upset and complain about this in addition to everything we've been talking about.
Right. And what I don't, again, I know that this is a very simplistic point here, but Why is it, people, that we are so focused on these things that Donald Trump allegedly did or did not do, when the whole crux of this matter was Hillary got this whole dossier going in the beginning? Am I right on that?
Right. It was collusion.
And wasn't it also for campaign dirt on Donald Trump, which now they're saying is totally wrong, that Donald Trump would use that, or Donald Trump Jr. would meet with the Russians to get campaign dirt? That's an age-old practice. Am I right or am I wrong on that?
They're absolutely right. And
so
keep in mind, we have a special counsel investigating whether or not Trump tried to get dirt on Hillary from Russians, and their proof of that was dirt that Hillary got from Russians to Donald
that's
Trump.
why. Dude, are we living in an upside down world here? Why can people not? Oh my God!
That's what drives me crazy. It's like, are people completely brain dead? Because what they're describing Hillary did is exactly what you're claiming Trump did. I've never understood that from the very beginning.
Every single Russian that someone like Manafort or Don Jr. or any of them were connected to, supposedly, we have examples of Hillary's team being connected to the exact same Russians, such as Deripaska, such as Veselnitskaya, who was the Russian lawyer that met in Trump Jr.'s office. Turns out she hired Fusion GPS, the same firm Hillary hired, and had dinner with Glenn Simpson, the founder of it, the day before and after her meeting with Trump Jr. I mean, it's every single thing they've accused Trump of and said we need to investigate him for. We have proof that Hillary's team did it, if not more, the exact same.
Now I have another thing on that. So what is the deal about like even with the uranium deal, right? So think about that too. We're just talking about the collusion deal, but what about the fact that Hillary did all this kinds of crazy crap in with the Uranium One deal? Speak on that, Robert.
Didn't Mueller sign off on that too? Just to get that out there. Okay.
He was the head of the FBI at the time, and so. For those of you who don't know, here's the skinny of what happened. When Hillary was Secretary of State, there was an offer to sell uranium stores in the United States to Russia. Now, there was supposedly an argument that it was only to profit off it. Russia couldn't bring those uranium stores outside of the country. It turns out that's a lie. They actually did take uranium stores out. We've now been proven. Anyways, during this whole time, there was actually a whistleblower that said that he had proof that people acting on behalf of Russia had like briefcases full of cash that they were planning on bribing people like the Clintons with. And by the way, those people that whistleblower spoke of actually were arrested and charged, convicted of bribing U.S. officials. So he said, yeah, by the way, they were trying to bribe Clintons. Congress refused to talk to this person, as did Mueller. They didn't want him to say anything. They basically issued a gag order on him, so it would have been illegal for him to say anything. While all of this is going down, Bill Clinton meets in secret with Vladimir Putin himself. 2 weeks later, a Russian-owned state bank pays Bill Clinton $500,000 personally to give a speech in front of this bank. Right. Now, I've been told over and over again by everyone well, the accusation's so serious. There were all these connections between Trump people and Russians. That's why we had to be safe, and that's why we had to have this investigation. Well, it doesn't get much higher than meeting Putin himself and getting $500,000. And we're not just talking about dirt. We're talking about giving who the Democrats call our biggest geopolitical rival access to the material to make nuclear weapons. So how isn't that story bigger literally in every single possible way? Yet we're told that's a conspiracy theory not worth investigating.
Right. No, that's so true. Like literally giving them uranium, like the very thing that fuels the missiles and the death that they're allegedly pointing at us. We gave them all these kind of rights to this material, but that's not a big deal. Let's find out if Donald Trump did something inappropriate with Putin or with the prostitute or with all these other, and let's dig into it for 2 years and absolutely get zero zip zilch out of it.
That's right. And now keep in mind, another big thing, just real quick, that's coming from this. The Mueller report is they're saying, but see, it's at least proof that Russians did interfere with our election. First off, every country, whether it be our ally or foe that has the means, is interfering with our election in some way, including things like trolling on Facebook, other things like that. We know, for example, that China hacks us way more. China has by far is our biggest economic rival, by far is our biggest militaristic rival, but we didn't complain about that. But anyways, all the alleged crimes that they're saying in the Mueller report that Russia did, who was president when those crimes took place? Oh, that's right, it was Barack Obama. Yeah. And when he was repeatedly being warned by Republicans years leading up to that, hey, Russia's going to try to do stuff, Russia's going to try to do stuff. What did he do? He laughed at Romney. He said, there's no way our elections could be interfered with. Now, though, once Trump's in office, now all of a sudden the buck's passed to him, and it's all his fault. That's ridiculous. This all happened under Obama.
Army engineer said on the chat, he goes, "What uranium?" I think maybe we've covered that because we're a little bit far behind, or maybe he's being sarcastic. But the uranium that Hillary Clinton gave to the Russians, pretty much. That's what we're talking about.
Rossystem, I believe, was the name of the company that they sold it to. That was a Russian-owned company. And
Yeah,
the
yeah.
thing that's important, it's a minor point, but the reason that we were like, well, why would you sell this to our rivals? Why wasn't like the greater Congress and public informed of this? They said, don't worry, it could never leave the country. That is a lie. We've now proven that we know shipments of that went through Canada and ended up at least in Europe, as far as Europe. So we know that's a lie. So.
Right, just real quick, guys, does my mic sound better? Let me know. It's not the mic, it's the software that I'm using, and sometimes it gets crazy and screwy, but let me know if it sounds better. But here again, and I hate to say, I'm a broken record, my focus is always the media. The media, and I'm constantly just trying to show people that, look, the media is not to be believed. But have they ever made an issue of uranium one? Do they ever make an issue of any of these abnormalities about this investigation? No, they don't. The focus is always about putting the focus back on their political opposition, the Republicans. So, when a story comes out when a Democrat has a negative attention focused on them, what happens? They flip it around how the Republicans are reacting. The story becomes how the Republicans are reacting. And then, it's
every issue. And it's certainly every issue like that in Russia, for example. And it's not, it is the media, certainly, but it infiltrates even to the intelligence agency and politics.
Right.
So
and my point is, what the hell can we do? Like, what are we going to I mean, all we can do is keep telling the truth. And I think that's working to an extent right now. But, I mean, how the media is reacting right now is kind of demoralizing a little bit. Not that we didn't know this was going to happen, but like I was telling you earlier, Robert, seeing it happen is another thing. Like, we knew it was going to happen, but now seeing it happen is just like,
me is the fact that how they like when I'm watching these live updates today, and I've been watching the live coverage of CNN, which literally makes me want to wrap duct tape around my head because it's like it hurts my brain. But the whole fact is, how do we cover all this? So many lies they're spinning out there and throwing. It's like, dude, they've just given us so much material to debunk, but damn, it's gonna take a long time, and we just have weeks to look forward to it.
That's the thing, man. Like, okay, so today I got back from the zoo. I sat down. I'm thinking about video and the live stream, and I'm just looking at like Newsbusters. That's a site I use a lot. And look at this. Just look at this. Like, Trump. They're mad that Trump forgot things. They're mad that they're calling the Mueller report it's like the opposite. The Mueller report is very damaging. It says he doesn't collude and he didn't obstruct. How's that damaging? I mean, just look at some of this stuff. It just is mind-blowing.
Nadler comes out, and I just did a little 5-minute video on this, but Nadler, who's the Democratic chair of the House Judiciary Committee, he comes out and does a press conference about the Mueller report, and he starts off saying something like this: well, Attorney General Barr is basically corrupt because we now know that in his letter about the Mueller report, he misled the American people. And the reason is he said that there was no Russia collusion, and then he quotes a sentence from Mueller where he says that they could not press charges on obstruction, nor could they exonerate Trump. And he says, but look at the 2 sentences before this. And so he reads the 2 sentences before, which basically amount to, Mueller says, if we could have found evidence that would have totally exonerated Trump, we would have presented that. But we didn't, weren't comfortable doing that. So we can neither indict nor exonerate him. And here's the thing. With a straight face says, see, this is proof that Barr misled us. What the hell are you talking about? That's exactly what Barr said. He said, they didn't indict and they didn't exonerate. And Nadler he intends that his media mouthpieces will go out there and they'll be able to spin this story from him. And people that aren't really looking into it will go, oh, geez, Barr did spin a story. He's a liar. No, he's not. He exactly told the truth.
Right. Hey, and just everybody go out there and do this real quick. Get on Google. Do an image search for Mueller report, and it's like all images painting Barr like he's some sort of like sycophant or a Russian agent himself. It's insane.
Yeah. No, I was even listening to them talking about how Chris Como again, and I should say, when you're put into a coma, right. Not coma, but coma. He was literally saying, and the wording of Mueller in this report, his wordings could have been better. I'm paraphrasing, but basically Mueller's wordings could have been better because it left too much room for doubt. That they should have, indicted him on obstruction. Right. So now they're even subtly going after Mueller. But here was one thing that I listened right before I got up here that was a cute little narrative they were spinning. They were saying basically now they're taking all of this and they're appealing to the American people, saying now if with all of this information coming out, yeah, there's nothing illegal per se, but this is very damning on his character and on his integrity and on his ethics. And if you need to really decide, American people, whether or not in 2020 you're going to support this president that has ethics that are basically this bad and integrity that's this bad, it's going to be your choice, but ultimately, sure, there wasn't anything illegal, but it's very bad. And so they're just spinning it to where they're automatically now going to even make anybody who still supports Trump through this be even the worst scum of the earth, right? Whereas if you were to take any of these other politicians and dug through them with 2 years with a fine-tooth comb like you did with Trump, you would find just as many or more unethical or unsavory things about them.
And that's one of the greatest points. That's one of the things I wanted to talk about. Because listen, they're trying to smear Barr as a bad guy. Barr actually comes out of this looking fantastic to me. And not just as someone who supports Trump, but someone that I think's been pretty unbiased in the whole situation. Remember, legally, Barr didn't have to release any of the Mueller report, not only to Congress, but not to people like me and you. But he did. In 3 weeks. We're still waiting 2 years later to see an unredacted version of the FISA warrant on Carter Page, which, by the way, the Democrats say, oh, we can't have that unredacted. We can't have that released. That type of transparency is bad. That transparency hurts the country. It hurts sources and methods. But of course, they're being hypocrites here. But yeah, that's exactly what's happening. Now they're saying, well, we're going to spin this to the American people and say, hurt them at the polls. That's what we're going to use it. This is why traditionally prosecutors don't release this type of evidence. Because imagine one of us is being prosecuted, but we're not charged with a crime at the end. It's not up to the prosecutor to go, okay, we're not charging Dronetek with this crime. But during our investigation of him, we found out he's involved in all kinds of scandalous activities that aren't guilty. No, you're not.
Out with that SJG guy.
Right. That's not what prosecutors are supposed to do. But Barr, to his credit, said, in the interest of transparency, I'm still going to release all this information. Trump, to his credit, legally could have claimed executive privilege like Obama did with the Eric Holder situation.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Hey, I want to go ahead.
Go ahead, SJG.
I was reading a comment here from David Phillips, and it's I think it's an insightful one. He said, Limbaugh believes the wording for Mueller was 100% intentional in order to refill the conspiracy gas tanks for another 2 years. And I couldn't agree more.
Exactly.
And that's so spot on.
And Rush is spot on with that. But, to our credit, all of us were saying the same thing. It's like anybody could have predicted that to happen. Yeah. I mean, they're never going to let this go. And the entire point of this is to weaken Trump in 2020. Although I think they don't realize what they're doing. They're actually making him stronger, I believe. Yeah. And real quick, one of the other chats from Internet God said that Robert sounds like Ben Shapiro. He talks fast like Ben Shapiro, and I agree. I think Robert may be the next Ben Shapiro. But real quick, one of these things that I keep seeing pop up, and I want to get all of yours take on this. It's another example of the media just straight up lying. The thing going around right now is that Trump thought that he was, quote, fucked, and I'm sorry to curse again, but that's what he said.
Sorry, Cindy.
Yeah. I apologize. That is what the language is, and that's what they're making an issue of. Have you guys seen this, Robert?
Yes.
So, right, if you read the whole thing, he's clearly talking about his presidency, like getting things done, his agenda. He's saying his agenda is effed, not him.
Well, he knows. He says specifically, I'm effed, and then he says, basically, I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but I basically heard anytime there's these special counsels that it grinds your entire presidency to a halt. And he's right, by the way. It did it for Clinton, which, by the way, as someone who's Republican, I did not approve of the special counsel into Bill Clinton either, and I certainly didn't care that it morphed into who he had sex with. I could care less. I don't really care. But
and real quick,
but
I am showing.
To look at that.
Yeah,
that
real quick.
Right. He's right.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Robert, but real quick on the screen, I'm showing this is the post that they made, and all the media people were cycling it, and you see the underlined piece here. This is what people are supposed to read, and then they're supposed to stop. But if you keep reading, you see the president returned to the consequences of the appointment and said, "Everyone tells me if you get one of these independent counsel, it ruins your presidency. It takes years and years, and I won't be able to do anything. It's the worst thing that ever happened to me." He's not talking about. He knows he's innocent, but he's talking about his presidency, what he's going to be able to do, his agenda. But go ahead.
Yeah, this is exactly the point. This is exactly what the Democrats wanted. They know look, anyone who's good at speaking and spinning things, which you could certainly say that's one thing that a lot of these Democrats in the media are good at, spinning things. You could take any report like this about anyone, no matter how much it exonerates them, and take little tidbits out, cherry pick them, and say, see, this proves something. So you take that one sentence, and then you blast it all over the mainstream media, and people that aren't really paying attention like us see that and go, geez, Trump must have been guilty of something if he said that. That's exactly the intent. And they know that's not the case.
Drive-by media. Rush Limbaugh coined that term, and he was so freaking right. He coined that way back, by the way, way back in like the early 90s. So just let everybody know, he was onto this stuff way back.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. And another thing that's worth, like, some other thoughts I had on the report is, here's something. So again, they're completely ignoring the Russia collusion aspect of it. So if you remember, when the investigation into Trump started, like we were saying, it was the dossier that started it. But then once the media and the FBI started to realize, like, ooh, that's going to be a bad look for us because it was paid for by Hillary Clinton, they switched it to, it was George Papadopoulos. He got drunk one time and told some Australian agent that Russians had dirt on Hillary. Well, that's a bogus reason to start an investigation anyways, but let's take that at face value. Who was the Russian asset that first introduced Papadopoulos to these Russians that had dirt? He was a professor by the name of Joseph Mifsud. Now, Mueller talks about Mifsud for about 3 pages in this report, yet not one time does he accuse him of being a Russian asset. Not once. Now, how is that possible? The person that's the very crux of starting this whole thing, and Mueller doesn't indict him. Mueller doesn't accuse him of being a Russian asset. Could it be that Mifsud was working for someone else? Because that's probably what it was. He was an asset for the Hillary Clinton team. He has connections to Hillary Clinton Foundation and things like that. And they were intentionally setting Papadopoulos up from the get-go so that they had a reason to investigate him and spy on Trump's campaign.
Right, and I just want to point out that when he said this, when he was talking about this, it was already in the public sphere. People on the internet were already talking about this stuff. So how was he getting like special secret Russian information that was already available to the public? And the media has done this multiple times. In fact, I want to say it was the New York Times or CNN that tried to make a big conspiracy over Trump Jr. getting an email, which was supposedly a tip that all these WikiLeaks were being released. But the problem is he got this email like weeks after that dump had already happened. But the media put it out there thinking, they put it out there and completely misread the date in the email. Supposedly misread. I think it's another drive-by smear job to get it in people's minds. But that's another example of them doing that.
Yeah, and you're exactly right about this, because the reason that this story, it would seem absurd on face value that you would start an investigation based on some drunk periphery character to a candidacy making some claim like this, right? But the reason, what they said gave it credence was, so Papadopoulos says this, and then weeks later, we end up seeing the release of the WikiLeaks DNC cache of emails. And so people said, my God, now let's put 2 and 2 together. Papadopoulos talked to a Russian who said they had emails. Then 2 weeks later, they release emails. But it's not as damning as you say, as you think, because of what you just said. Everyone in their right mind was saying, what's that? Hillary had an unsecure server in her bathroom. I bet Russians and Chinese got access to it. So if you were just some shady Russian guy trying to sell someone a bit, you know, what would you say? Yeah, I got dirt on Hillary. Oh, yeah, what kind of dirt? Emails. Because it's been public.
And I'm going to call, and I'm just going to call, I'm just going to call again, the elephant out in the room. So what? So what the president said to the Russians in a televised speech that, hey, if you got the emails, release them. We're pissed at Trump for saying that. We're not pissed at the fact, again, I'm sorry to beat this dead horse, but we're not pissed at the fact that she had a bunch of deleted emails and was doing some nefarious crap with the server in her bathroom.
Right. Jeez. And real quick, not to cut you off on that, but that's a great point as well, because the fact, think of all the information that was within those hacked emails. There was all this information about the media coordinating with the Democrats to protect Hillary and attack her critics. There was a lot of stuff like that in there that the media does not want to talk about. And I think that's another part of all this. It's all deflecting for. Have we ever talked about the only scandal within those emails that's ever gotten any real play was that Donna Brazile gave questions to Hillary during the CNN debate. And I think the only reason that came out was because it was a sort of inner Democrat issue.
Yeah,
but if it had been a great, right, and it was about Bernie, but There's other stuff in there about journalists contacting Hillary, running headlines and stories by her, asking her to edit stories and asking her for like the talking points and shit like that. It's like, yeah, and that's what they don't want to talk about. But
Yeah,
anyway,
Right.
they do this all the time. So the media, if it's a story they don't like that was gotten by perceived ill-gotten gains, they focus on how it was got. Oh, WikiLeaks did it. Oh,
would
the
they do
Russians
that with
did it.
Republicans? They would never do that if it was Republicans.
Well,
ever.
no, we know they don't. For example, we saw all the leaks that came out that were illegal leaks from the intelligence community about Donald Trump. Did they say, oh, we're not going to talk about these because they were illegally obtained? Of course not. I mean, if you go back, look at how they're treating Julian Assange just now versus how they treated the Pentagon Papers. With the Pentagon Papers, it was the exact same situation. We saw information was stolen. It made the U.S. look bad, but the media patted themselves on the back, gave themselves Pulitzer Prizes for reporting. But when that same information is now used that partially harmed the Democratic establishment, now Assange is the bad guy. It's the same way with this.
Yep,
WikiLeaks
exact
was
same.
the bad guy. They're in bed with Russia. We don't want to focus on the material. But I'll guarantee if WikiLeaks tomorrow releases information, hacks the RNC and releases information on Donald Trump, do you think they'll say, oh, we're not going to talk about this information because it was ill-gotten? Let's put it on
Right.
WikiLeaks. Of course they're not gonna-
right. Never.
Right. No, and I don't want to switch the subject too much. I mean, it kind of goes along with
No,
what
go
we're
ahead.
saying here, but like, and this is something where I'm not necessarily, I'm gonna, maybe offend some people here, but I'm not exactly happy with Trump about like with what's going on in Venezuela. But my point isn't really Venezuela as much as everybody that is the cabal, the guy, whoever you want to call it, the deep state, right? That is behind going into Venezuela and overthrowing the government. We can say whatever about the government. This isn't about defending Venezuela right now. My point is this: the deep state that thinks it's a great idea to interfere in Venezuela, right, is the same one that is losing their crap over the fact that that Russia had a few bots in our election, or put a few Facebook posts up, or
Right.
or kind of in the back end sort of maybe affected the election, right? It's like, can we not also call that hypocrisy out? Like I said, I didn't mean to take it off track.
Yeah, well,
No,
yeah,
that's exactly-
and about that, like, is the media is a much greater influencer than a couple Facebook ads and stuff, and
Right.
that goes back to a lot of what you'll notice the media accuses other people of is what they're guilty of themselves, obviously, and
Yeah.
it's just, again, I feel like we're trapped in like this constant loop of the media spinning news and spinning the narratives to protect their own asses.
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
the lies just keep piling up.
Well, like you were saying about that situation with Venezuela, like here's another example. We're told by all these Democrats and by the intelligence agencies that Russia spying on or hacking or obtaining emails from the DNC was an act of war. Now, that's not to be said flippantly. We're talking about a nuclear superpower. That
Right.
war could have devastating consequences, not just for our country, but for the world, right? But that's what they called it, an act of war. Meanwhile, we know not 3-4 years ago that the Obama administration was caught spying on Angela Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany. Now, would Germany have had the right then at that point to come out and say, this was an act of war by the United States, we're going to arm ourselves, we're going to start defending ourselves, engaging in espionage against the United States? The same hypocrites that were the intel community that was spying on Angela Merkel is aghast that a Russian might try to hack John Podesta's email when his password was the word password.
Right.
I mean, you can't make this stuff up. And
There was
they
no
hack.
hack.
So, and,
Dude, if you're
and
going to
the
be too
media
dumb
falls
to,
right in line. Yeah.
if you're going to be so dumb to have password as password, you deserve to be hacked.
Right, he would be fired from his job. Any other person, regular person out there who lost company data or something to a hacker that got their password because it's password, they would not have a job
change
anymore.
The factory settings. He just got his phone or his
Right.
email set up. He's like, oh,
Right.
keep factory settings.
Yeah, if you take
Password.
if you take an Asus router and reset the factory settings, guess what the admin password is? It's fucking password. Sorry, I did it again.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's laughable. Another thing I thought was funny with the Mueller report, it's like you can't come out. There was this idea, and I saw a lot of this on websites I was on and stuff that was saying, oh, if Mueller comes out and doesn't find Trump guilty of a crime, then all the Trump supporters will say Mueller's the man. No, Mueller still sucks, right? Let's not get it twisted. He still hired a bunch of Democrats to be on his team, which, okay, you might say is not bad on face value, but keep in mind, some of these lawyers that he hired actually worked for the Clinton Foundation in the past. That's ridiculous, right? And then he also, as we've talked about ad nauseum, deleted all the text off of Strzok and Page's iPhones that he submitted to him. So he did all kinds of shady stuff. The fact that and it's like we talked about this before, Drone, it's like when me or you will cite CNN, people go, oh, I thought you didn't trust CNN. Well, yeah, what we're saying is if even they are saying something positive to Trump, then that gives it more credence. So the fact that even Mueller, who had every incentive to find crimes of Trump and his campaign, who had every incentive to prove that there was Russia collusion, because he would have been a hero for all time, for all of the institutions of power. Hollywood would have hailed him as a hero. The media would have hailed him as a hero. If even he couldn't find crimes of collusion, it lets you know just how little there was anything there.
Right, and again, not to keep, and I think I only said this once, but if Trump was trying to hide something, he definitely would have used executive privilege a couple different times. He would have told the people speaking to the FBI and tried to coach them. He didn't do any of that. He said, go talk to them, tell them whatever. And, and that was noted. And when Barr says that, somehow it's cooking the data. Somehow it's cooking the narrative. It's like, no, we're adding context that you in the media constantly bury. You guys always want to talk about people being taken out of context when it's Democrats, but you constantly bury the context. Like we were just talking about that quote from Trump saying "F it" or whatever, or I'm effed. They buried the context. When they claimed he called immigrants and asylum seekers animals, they buried the context. He was talking about
MS-13. They twisted the context.
Right. That's what they do.
But then if you
How
listen,
can anybody believe these people?
Yeah, but if you take a Democrat and actually say what they said in context, that's considered incitement of violence. That's the media's new line, right? You can't criticize Omar. You can't say, wow, what did she say about 9/11? That's incitement of violence. But for them to take something out of context and say, oh, Trump called all immigrants animals. Then when a Trump supporter gets beat for wearing a MAGA hat, how is that not incitement by their own definition?
Yeah, no, and it's the same thing they did to Candace Owens. Ted Lieu did to Candace Owens. Exactly the same blatant thing they did to her.
Exactly. They love this tactic. They use it quite a bit.
Yeah, this projection 101 works well.
Well, it works when you have such power in the media where you can project. Yeah. You project that on, and we're not just talking about the media here. We're talking about Hollywood, talking about universities. We're talking about the tech giants and their search replies and everything. I mean, they control it all.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing I thought was interesting is along those lines of, well, you have to, no matter what you think, you have to say, oh, Mueller's a good guy. He did a good job. Another thing is, it's like no one's willing to call out the BS about how the Russians actually attacked us. So if you read the Mueller report, there's two ways they attacked us. They used this group called the IRA that supposedly, these were the Facebook trolls you heard of, and they did other things. And then supposedly they did the hacks. So if we talk about the IRA group at first, I'm sorry, I still don't believe that $50,000 in Facebook ads, let's even up the ante, let's say 10 times that much, $500,000 of nefarious activities by them outweighed an election that over $1 trillion was spent on advertising. It's just garbage. And they continue to repeat this lie, not understanding that this also goes with their agenda of shutting people like you down, Dronetek, because the argument is, oh, we got to ban fake news. Look how the Russians use social media to take us down. So let's start censoring people online. It's all part of the agenda.
Yeah. No, I'd like to call out one more comment here too from one of our commenters, Dave
keep
Phillips.
going, bro.
He said, where'd it go? Maybe I just lost it. Hang on a second here. Wait for it. He basically said Mark Levin coined the term soft tyranny. And I'll just paraphrase. I lost it on there. But basically, Dave Phillips just said, he goes, the Mark Levin coined the term soft tyranny. And basically, we've been just witnessing a soft coup, or maybe I butchered that.
No, that's what he said.
Yeah. So that's
obviously what it was.
Yeah.
And this is something that's been going on for more than just Trump. This is exactly why I wanted to elect Trump. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff I agree with him on, but my number one reason was that he would out the fact that the establishment people at the top of both parties, in my opinion, are basically the same party, and they're concerned with maintaining power and keeping any potential outsider out. Even though I don't like Bernie, they achieved that successfully, didn't they, in the primaries where they cheated to take Bernie out. And with Trump, they tried their best. They thought all their eggs were in the Hillary basket. Their only mistake was underestimating just how repugnant Hillary Clinton is. That was it. If they would have put anyone else against Trump, with all the deck stacked against them, with their media being 95% against them, the Access Hollywood tape that they set on until 2 weeks before the election, all of that crap, they would have won. Any other person would have probably beat Trump. And so once they lost that battle, Trump achieved exactly what I wanted him to. It is out of the media and the establishment people on both parties. And when I say both parties, I'm talking about Jeff Flake, John McCain, all these people that were Republicans that were constantly never Trumpers, it outed them as they're secretly Democrats. You're telling me John McCain and Jeff Flake, supposedly two of the most prominent Republicans, rather had Hillary Clinton, the person they told us was the worst possible candidate for 10 years. They'd rather have her president. It just showed how corrupt they were. So yeah, the soft coup, at least it's out in the open now.
Right. And I will say that you're seeing the same in the media. Look at, I swear, every single Republican or conservative in the media is vehemently anti-Republican and anti-conservative. Just go down the list of all of them in the media. And this goes way back. There's somebody I talk about every now and then in my videos, a woman named Kathleen Parker. She's not around a lot these days, but if you go back to like the Bush administration, you look her up, she won a Pulitzer Prize, and she freely admitted that the only reason she won the Pulitzer Prize is because she started attacking conservatives. She's been doing journalism as a conservative for decades, and only when she turned on conservatives did she win an award, and she admitted that if you look into it. But real quick, guys, one of the chats here, David Phillips, asks, can you guys spend some time reflecting on the reality of living through and witnessing a modern attempt to coup on America? And I agree. It's never going to be painted that way by our media, but we know what happened. And real quick, I got to take a quick bathroom break, so you guys start talking about that. I'll be right back.
So, Robert, why don't you
go first?
Well, no, you go first, because I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Okay, yeah, I mean, for me, I've been saying ever since the dossier came out and it became obvious that Hillary Clinton paid for that, I had said that I think this is the biggest political scandal in the history of the United States. Like, when we look back at Watergate, what really happened there? We had a couple of bumbling fools rifling through a hotel trying to get information on their opponent.
And if you don't know what happened, on what he's talking about, just go watch Forrest Gump. It shows you. Okay, carry on.
Yeah. And you also get a love of Dr. Pepper and long sprints. So, what we saw under the Obama administration was him weaponizing the most powerful intel agency in the history of the world to use as a weapon against his political rival, Donald Trump. Now, I just ran for Congress, and I tried to express the importance of this coup and why it outweighs all the other issues we're talking about. Let's say your issue is the Second Amendment, or you're pro-life, or you're for environmentalism and you think climate change is a big deal, or you're against war, whatever your particular issue is on the right or left. If we have unelected officials that are able to use their power, the greatest intel investigative agencies in the history of the world, to spy on you, to smear you, to send leaks to the media about you, and to ensure that only people that agree with them are elected to office, and they'll take down any duly elected official that doesn't fit that mold, then every issue you have doesn't matter. Right. It is literally the biggest and most important thing we could do. And we are living through this coup. And we're seeing that it's so powerful because they control the messaging, and the media understands the importance of that. So that's why it's important for us to talk about this. I don't think we resort to violence or anything. You just keep telling the truth. And I think today is a win for us, but because we can see egg on the face of the people that have been pushing this.
So let me interject there on that. A couple things you were saying, how with the coup, like, the if you don't line up with it, if you don't agree, you'll be shut down. Well, you think about when you add the actual political players in this, the Democrats, the senators, those who are actually in office, then who are in the back pocket and connected with all of Silicon Valley and all of our social media and all of the way we communicate, and they're all working together. That just totally amplifies your tip. And then the media, the mainstream media, you add all of that together, and the decks or the cards are really stacked against the flow of information and the flow of you better get or the narrative of you better get on board, because if you don't get on board, we'll absolutely shut you down. Does that make sense? I don't know if I said that well.
That absolutely makes sense. And you know that they believe this too. You know that the establishment left and the Democrats believe this too. And here's why. Because they're telling you that Russian trolls were able to use Pokemon Go and Facebook to influence the outcome of an election. Now, if that's true, if we're going to take them that they believe that, then what do you call it when those actual platforms themselves and the people that are running them are censoring opinions that are calling out this coup? And it is predominantly on the right, but it's also people on the left. You see people like Jimmy Dore, people like Glenn Greenwald from The Intercept, Aaron Mattei, Matt Taibbi. These are left-wing people that hate Trump that have been constantly calling out the absurdity of this Russia collusion thing, and they're getting censored as well.
No, but you said, you don't want violence. And the scary part about this is if they're actually, if a coup really does end up happening and goes from a soft coup to an actual hard coup, there is no way around violence. There's 50 million people at least in this country that have guns and know how to use them, and I'm not advocating for that. Don't misunderstand.
None of us want that. None of us.
But there's no stopping that tinderbox with that spark if they actually do try to pull off an actual coup.
Well, that's what they want. You know, that's what they want. Look at the cases they've been pushing recently.
Kind of an ultimate false flag to ignite that and then be able to use that as a precipice to really crack down.
Yeah, look at the Smollett case and the Covington kids. They're itching anytime they can when anyone on the right finally gets fed up with crap.
Right.
You have to put
boys, by the way.
Take like Candace Owen. They're throwing urine and stuff every time she speaks. Someday she's just going to flip out. If someone threw urine in your face, what would you do? You're going to punch them back. The story won't be urine thrown in Candace Owen's face. It'll be Candace Owens assaults innocent protesters.
Yeah,
you know?
Crazed Trump supporter beats the Cindy, the shiznit out of poor protester activist.
And so that's why I think it's our job to always say, like, I do think that there's something to say about, like, the resistance efforts of people like Gandhi or MLK. Like, leave them push the violence, leave them keep pushing it, and you just keep staring at them and dealing with that violence as best you can with logic. And inevitably the shoe will drop. And I think you're seeing it in the younger generations where, we had the millennials that, like, they pulled, they're all socialists and stuff. But the generation below them, they're fed up with it. They're tired of the PC culture. They're tired of the fact that you can't joke around or have fun and that everything in your life from the time you're in high school is going to go through with a fine-tooth comb anytime you apply for a job. And so I do think we're starting to see a turning point where people like, and I don't mean people like us that agree with us politically, but people like us that believe in truth and free speech and are against these kind of shady backroom deals are, coming to the forefront.
Right.
Hey, Robert,
real quick.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to throw in here to what you guys are talking about here. We should have a little bit of hope, I think, because what have they been trying to do for 2 years but undo a democratic election? What are they trying to do at universities? They're trying to stop conservatives, right-leaning people from speaking at all.
Yeah.
What are they doing on the media or with the tech giants and search? They're trying to do is tamp us down because they're not confident in their ability to win arguments. I believe. I think that's what it is. And so the fact that we're seeing that, it's good. Right, and it's backfiring, and I think it's a good sign. They're not very confident. I don't think.
Yeah. No, and I think that's right. And you see that it's hugely backfiring on them because then now Trump's coming out and he put that bill out or whatever on the free speech on campus.
Right.
You see the Blexit movement with Candace Owens and her just. I think it's empowering us to say no. We're not just going to go away peacefully and quietly here. We're going to raise our voice and stand for what we believe and say what we believe, and you're going to hear it whether you want to or not. And
there's hope that people on the left are joining that. Like, if you look up they call themselves like the intellectual dark web. So you have like Joe Rogan's podcast, Dave Rubin, and then there's the Weinstein brothers, not the creepy rapey guy, Harvey Weinstein, but Eric and Brett Weinstein. And there's a bunch of people, they traditionally consider themselves more on the left, but they're fed up with it too. They're starting to see the ridiculous nature of this. And so I think that there is hope and that there is the winning strategy is to just keep telling the truth. That's it. Yeah. And to not, I'm not going to I encourage anyone to debate me on that. I would love to debate someone on this Russia collusion narrative. Yes. And anytime you see the debate happen, it's a joke. The only chance that that side has of winning is it'll be CNN where you have one person versus 12 on a panel and they just silence them the whole time.
And even that one on the panel is kind of a milquetoasty one at best anyway. Exactly. Oh, by the way, I got to throw this in here, Robert, real quick. There was a Gator put up that your nickname's the Beard. That's awesome. We're going to call you the Beard. Robert the Beard.
Yes, the Beard.
The Beard, man. You are now the Beard.
I'll take it. I used to have a longer beard. I'll tell you just a real quick story. I had a longer beard. I was at a ball game one time, and I'm drunk, and I see this guy across from me who has a way bigger beard, and it just infuriated me. Like, I'm sitting there getting drunk, like, I'm going to tell this guy how it is, So we start walking to the game, and I'm telling my wife, like, I'm going to tell him, and he looks over at me. He's like, hey, man, nice beard. And I was just like, oh, yeah, what a cool guy, Yeah. But it used to be way longer. But I have to keep it in check a little. But thank you. That's
you're the Beard now.
I've had far worse nicknames. I'll tell you that.
So have I. Still do. No, yeah, that's so true.
Guys, this is I'm really enjoying talking. I think we're gonna keep going. Can you guys keep going for a little bit, or?
Oh, heck yeah!
I could probably go another half hour. Yeah.
Okay. I think we should do that. It's going really well.
Good.
I think this is like the best live stream we've had yet. You guys are both born to do this. I really believe that. Both of you guys. I feel very lucky to have run into you guys.
I feel the same way. Not about me. About you guys. I feel
the same way. I am a great. You are right, Drone. I am born to do this.
You are, man. Both of you.
No.
Did you check out my new
love it,
avatar
man.
my friend made for me?
And it is. It's so true, man. I don't have anything to play right now. I'm just saying in case I get some inspiration, so
if you do, just start. Just go.
I will be like,
shut
guys,
up.
I got this.
Everybody will love it, I think. Go ahead,
I
Robert.
agree. Yeah. So yeah, I think one of the things you're seeing then that's going to be pushed as a result of this is obviously they're going to focus on obstruction, and they're focusing on this idea that there was a comment that apparently Mueller said in the past that it could be left up to Congress. So one of the big issues is going to be, why did Barr decide unilaterally to not charge Trump? And why did Barr decide unilaterally to make the redaction?
Did he decide that unilaterally? Was that his own decision?
He worked
I don't know
with
if that was a complete
Rosenstein and Mueller on those decisions. So Rosenstein, we know, hates Trump. In fact, he was going to wear a wire to try to get him out of office. So are we really to believe that Rosenstein's been playing the long game for 2 years? That really he's a Trump ally that's like, what I'll do is I'll appoint a special counselor, study Trump's candidacy or presidency for 2 years, and then at the last minute just decide to switch sides, like it's a WWE match or something. Like, oh, it's a big. He's had a change of face at the last minute. This is stupid. But the Democrats are intentionally ignoring the fact that when it came to the redactions and the decision to not prosecute or to not charge Trump with obstruction of justice, Rosenstein set in on that, and so he had no incentive to lie to benefit Trump.
Right,
No.
He did not. And in fact, and so here's something that I'm actually confused about, because I always thought Rod Rosenstein did tell Trump that he should fire Comey. But then I've read some other places that Trump just told him to do it, and so he did it.
No,
Is
the
that how
Mueller
it
report
worked?
clears this up.
Okay.
The report actually sheds light on it. It says that, yeah, that's what happened. Basically, Trump wanted to fire Rosenstein and went to Rosenstein and said, what's your opinion on this? And Rosenstein said, yeah, you should fire him. And then wrote a memo suggesting that he fire him. And then Trump fired him and said, oh, it was because Rosenstein. But then foolishly, and this was dumb of Trump, he gets interviewed by, I forget who it was, but anyways, he gets interviewed and he says, basically I was upset with Comey about the Russia investigation, which he was. He was upset that Comey was telling him in private, they're not the target of this investigation, but then was allowing his office to leak to the media that Trump was actually the target of the investigation. So there was always this rumor that actually Rosenstein was furious about this. He was furious about the firing of Comey. But the Mueller report makes it very specific that both Jeff Sessions and Rod Rosenstein had no problem with Trump's decision to fire. So that you're right to think that there's a conflict of interest here, because here's the time frame of what happens. You have Rosenstein recommended Trump, writes a letter recommending firing Comey. So Trump fires Comey based on part on that recommendation. And then Rosenstein says, that's weird. I wonder why Trump would fire Comey, ignoring the fact he wrote the damn memo to fire him.
Right.
And then says, oh, you know what? I'll appoint a special counsel. And who does he pick? The very person that Comey wanted picked. Mueller. And you can't make this stuff up. If there's one person that should have had to redact themselves from this whole mess, it's Rosenstein. He wrote the memo that got Comey fired, and the entire crux of the obstruction investigation to start with was, well, Trump obstructed justice by firing James Comey. So Rosenstein should have had no decision whatsoever about who the special counselor was. But we let that slide because Rosenstein's anti-Trump, so it's okay.
So, and here's another question I have real quick, and you might be able to answer this, Robert. But so they keep saying obstruction, but as far as we know, the investigation and now in its conclusion continued. So why is there not a question of, okay, let's say just hypothetically Trump did try to was any obstruction successful?
It wasn't. But to those people's comment, picture it like this. You could theoretically, the cops are knocking on your door and you have a bunch of drugs. You could theoretically obstruct in a manner by flushing the drugs down the toilet. If the toilet doesn't flush properly, you still attempted to obstruct justice, and that's still a crime. And so that's what the anti-Trump people will say. They'll say, it doesn't matter if it actually had an effect. The fact that Trump attempted to obstruct justice is good enough to be charged under the statute, which technically is right. But the problem what they're ignoring is whether it be successful or just attempted obstruction of justice, there has to be corrupt intent, and they're clear, and it has to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. And Mueller was not able to prove that. Now, the big key word that everyone's focusing on here is, but Mueller said he didn't exonerate Trump. Guess what? That's not what prosecutors do. Prosecutors don't set out to prove your innocence. They set out to prove your guilt. Many times they can't prove your guilt, but that doesn't mean they proved your innocence. However, our legal system says innocent until proven guilty. If a prosecutor couldn't charge you with a crime, then for all intents and purposes, you're innocent of that crime. You don't get to then have the media go out for 2 years and go, yeah, but what Mueller really meant was he did commit the crime. Sorry, that's not how it works.
Wasn't it Fusion GPS that found the collusion or was behind getting the collusion? Am I right on that or am I wrong?
They founded the dossier. They paid for the dossier.
And they were at the meeting. They were at that hotel meeting. There was like three Russians that were involved with Fusion GPS that were at that meeting, that hotel meeting.
Now, keep in mind what we're being told even today. This is how the media is spinning this. They got a lot of things going on, but one of the things they're saying is, well, see, we were justified in all of our coverage of Russia and saying Trump might be a Russian asset because Mueller said that the Russians did interfere with our election. Okay, and remember, we were told that that was the primary objective of Comey and the FBI investigation, was to stop Russian interference, right? So if that's the case, why is there not one word in the Mueller report about Fusion GPS that we know got dirt on Trump from Russians?
Yes, that's a great freaking question. That almost, you know what? That's freaking brilliant, actually. And again, I'm going to go off here. The media should be asking that question. They're supposedly journalists, investigative journalists. They should be asking that, but they're not. But that is a great freaking question. Any investigator, but hold on here. Maybe, just maybe, there's some sort of investigation going on. Because if he was investigating to see if Trump colluded, maybe the Fusion GPS's involvement necessarily wouldn't come up in it, but an investigation of the investigation, that might come up. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's true. But keep in mind what the defense of all the other crazy stuff Mueller did was, right? So why, for example, is Mueller then charging crimes that had nothing to do with the 2016 election or Russia interference?
Yeah, right.
So when he's charging Manafort for crimes he committed with the Podesta group, by the way, who's Hillary's campaign manager, in 2011 when it came to advocating for pro-Russian interests.
Right, way outside the scope.
The justification was that the initial letter and the initial scope of the investigation by Mueller said that he was supposed to investigate obstruction of justice, Russian interference into the election, and any possible connection to Trump people, and any matters that arose in that investigation. So that means if he's truly trying to get to the bottom of Russian investigation or Russian interference, he had no reason not to then look into the Hillary Clinton side and who they were communicating with that were Russians. And also, and here's just real quick, here's another point in that. Ask yourself, what are the biggest ways? Because we're constantly told, oh, Russians wanted to help Trump. But the other thing we're told, because we know, as I know I've talked to you about this, Trump, that the Russian trolls actually have had rallies against Trump. They've had Black Lives Matter rallies. They've had LGBT rallies. And so what we're told is, well, really, the Russians, less than they're interested in any particular president winning, they're interested in sowing discord. What was the number one way that the Russians sowed discord into our country? It was through the information that Russian agents gave to Christopher Steele that was put in the dossier, that was leaked to the media, that led to the start of the investigation into Trump Russia, and that we've been focused on for 2.5 years, the entire length of Trump's presidency. So why in the hell wouldn't Mueller be investigating the biggest interference of Russians into our election? But no, there's nothing about it in the Mueller report.
Right.
So where do we go from here, though? So now all this stuff with the Mueller stuff, where do you think it goes from here? Obviously, we're going to hear about this for the next, God knows, probably till 2020. But where do we?
Absolutely.
Where does this take us from here?
Well, my take on it is, and I've said from the get-go, from the day that the report Mueller came out and said there will be no new charges, I said that day, yeah, I guess you could have a small celebration, and I feel the same way today. But to me, nothing changes until you investigate the people that started the witch hunt in the first place.
Agreed.
And I have some optimism that it seems like Barr is going to do that. Now, you currently have two investigations kind of going on. You have the IG investigation that's looking into the Russia investigation. The IG already looked into the Hillary investigation. Now he's looking into the Russia investigation. And then I forget the name of the guy. I'm just drawing a blank right now. But you have another guy who's operating like independently out of like Utah, a prosecutor that's also looking into the Russia situation. I think where we go from here, you see people like Lindsey Graham saying we need to have another special to look at the Obama administration and the actions they were taking leading into this, which how did they justify the FISA war? You heard Barr say this the other day.
Yeah, where's that narrative?
There were spying. We need to have an investigation as to whether or not that spying was predicated properly. And that's what needs to happen. If that doesn't happen, if the people that did this aren't held accountable, then the precedent's still set that any sitting president could weaponize the intel community and go after anyone they don't like.
Yeah, my feeling is that it's not. What happens every time we get our hopes up about something like this? We are always disappointed. Always, every time. So my feeling is we're going to be disappointed again. I mean, all we can do is just keep doing what we're doing. And just hopefully at some point the tipping point comes where so many people realize it's BS that it stops working. But they're going to keep, the people that are doing this are going to keep, they're just going to keep doing it until they can't.
Well, and the thing is, you have a right to, the precedent's been set. I think I said this earlier, that all the people that said, well, the witch hunt was justified. They wouldn't call it a witch hunt, but the investigation was justified because the stakes were so high. The allegation was so serious that we needed to have an investigation. What they've done then is they've justified Trump going out and paying anyone he wants for any dirt, saying whoever his 2020 opponent is likes to get peed on beds in China, work with Chinese people, et cetera, and now legally spy on them. That's what these Democrats are saying. And so when they complain and moan when it happens in the future, I'm sorry, I'm not going to listen to them. However, I will complain and moan because I'm not someone who's going to let my team get away with corruption like that. So I'll still say it's a bad thing.
We will,
but until
we will do it. But when the shoe's on the other foot, it'll be a completely different ball game, man. We've seen this happen over and over and over.
And we're called conspiracy theorists and things like that. Chuck Schumer, one of the political leaders of one of the parties in this country, went on national television with Stephanopoulos and told the American people, Donald Trump, the person you elected as president of the United States, who's supposed to be the most powerful person in your government, better watch himself when he's criticizing the intel agencies because they'll find 6 ways from Sunday of getting back to you. Now, if that doesn't scare every American, regardless if you're Republican, Democrat, like or hate Trump, it doesn't matter. The fact that unelected officials have the power over the president, that the president has to fear them and shouldn't criticize them. And then, by the way, all the policies that, like, you were saying this, SJ, like Venezuela, all these like wars, regime change wars and things like that. When it comes to the big issues that are screwing our country over, like bailing out banks, it just so happens those same intel deep state people always agree.
Right.
So if you ever want to have any hope of changing, we need to get these people out of power.
Yeah.
And they're right. I mean, I'm optimistic, but you're probably right, Drew.
I got a 2-verse song for us here. I just wrote. So can you guys hear it okay?
Do it.
Can you hear it okay?
But I hope you leave enough room for my fist because I'm going to ram it to your stomach and break your goddamn spine. All right, go ahead.
I don't have a lot here, but I just got a couple. It's going to go. No collusion, so I wrote this song. It turns out CNN and the MSN was so damn wrong. They're throwing a real big, huge old fit. It's because they are so obviously so full of, this is for you, Cindy, crap. Oh,
I almost filled it in.
Except with fusion. There's no collusion, yes, we see. There's no collusion except with that damn old fusion. There's no collusion, pardon me. Oh, okay, that's all I got so far. So,
dude, you're great, man. You're good. Keep it up. Keep up what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing.
We'll finish that one in another time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Everybody who's watching, you've heard that. You heard the intro. Tell me lies, CNN lies. Go to his YouTube channel. He's got tons of stuff like that. Guy's got a lot of good, funny shit like that. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Cindy.
Sorry, Cindy. I'm gonna make a graphic that just pops up and says, "Sorry, Cindy."
You have a counter, yeah.
All right. So, I mean, real quick, I just want to talk about this. Just throw it in there because I fucking hate Anna Navarro. Sorry, Cindy.
Sorry, Cindy.
Anna Navarro. Look at this. It cracks me up how they're going after Barr now. So let's go all the way back to the beginning, right? So Comey was a hero. He was a hero, national hero. Then he investigated Hillary. Then he became a national enemy. The media and the Democrats wanted him fired. They wanted him gone. Then he came after Trump. Then he became a hero again. All right? And Barr comes in. They're like, Barr is principled. He's got a good history. We know he's a good guy. Comes out in favor of Trump just based on Mueller's report. And I want to talk real quick. Mueller came out and said all these things about Trump, said about how, he didn't use executive privilege. Everybody around him was free to go talk to FBI. The media called that spin, but that's just what's in the report. That's what's in the Mueller report. All right. But They come after him now. William Barr, he's a political hack. And a Navarro calling somebody a political hack. Ugh. Barr looks like a teddy bear, but he is complicit. He is duplicitous. He's disloyal to the Constitution. And I remember now why I wanted to put this on, because I wanted to piggyback off it. We just got done with a week long of the media saying that criticism of Omar and criticism of the media is inciting violence. Yep. What do they think that this is doing? People who want to do violence to Trump supporters, which we've seen MAGA hat attacks, we've seen attacks on Republicans. People who really believe, true believers of this conspiracy theory, what are they going to do now? They're going to feel like, from these tweets from these people, they're going to feel like they're completely justified in taking some sort of a violent action. I mean, look at this crap. Yeah. They're talking I just... What do you think?
I agree. Now, my thing is, though, they can look, it's unethical and it's hurting the country, but I will not blame Anna Navarro or CNN for their garbage if some nut goes out and does something. But I'm being consistent. So I'm not going to blame some Republican if some Republican nut goes out and does something. Now, I think that it's funny because the anti-politician on the left at this point, Bernie Sanders, he's the biggest hypocrite of all when it comes to stuff like this. 2 years ago, I wrote this big long thing where when Gabby Gifford got shot in Arizona by a nutbag, they tried to blame Sarah Palin because Sarah Palin had that district and she had a crosshairs over it, meaning we're going to target this district to win. And Bernie Sanders fundraised off that and sent out an email that said basically, with just right-wing violence, can you even be safe being a Democrat in the streets of Arizona anymore? Okay, fine, that's what he says. Then when one of his supporters listens to his rhetoric...
Wait, he said that in Arizona? He said that in Arizona? Yeah. Which, I'm thinking of San Jose. I'm sorry, go ahead, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, but anyways, then fast forward to a couple years later, right? Bernie's going on television telling everyone the Republican plans on healthcare is going to lead to tens of thousands of people dying. The 1%'s causing all these deaths. Well, one of his followers takes him seriously. And so what's he do? He loads up a gun and goes to a Republican ball field and shoots Majority Whip Steve Scalise, along with shooting at a bunch of other Republicans. Now, did Bernie come out after that and say, I'm sorry, my rhetoric led to incitement? No, he blamed all rhetoric. So when a right-wing person does something, it's the right needs to condemn right-wing violence.
It doesn't even have to be...
When a supporter does something, it's, oh, well, all violence is bad. And it's the same crap from Bernie this week saying, oh, it's incitement, it's incitement.
It doesn't even, though, Robert, it doesn't even have to be a right-wing Republican. Look at the shooter in New Zealand who obviously wrote was trolling and literally told people, I'm writing this so that you guys will get in a big, huge civil war and fight. And we still blame him. See, he was a right-wing supporter. He liked Candace Owen. Yeah, this alt-right neo-Nazi loved the black conservative. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense.
Right, and if you remember...
it's still our faults.
Right, and if you go back and you look at the San Jose rally, Trump rally, it was a huge rally in San Jose. The mayor of San Jose was very anti-Trump and basically told, after all the violence happened, go back, get on YouTube and look it up because you probably didn't hear a lot about it, but the mayor of San Jose actually came out and blamed Trump supporters for being there, saying that, you knew that you weren't welcome here and you came here, so that's what you get.
What's the guy? There's a guy from the Michael Knowles from the Daily Wire. He just gave a speech the other day on some campus. I can't remember the name of it. Gets sprayed with the bleach-like substance by all these people that are heckling him the whole time so he can't speak. Then they spray him with this stuff. And the chancellor of the university comes out and is like, well, both sides were being antagonistic. No, they weren't. One side was there because he was invited to give a speech. The other side decided to try to shut him down and then use physical assault against him. But that's constantly... You're right, and that's what you're going to see. You'll constantly see it, and it works both on the ground level with Antifa, but it definitely works in the journalistic level where you see the mainstream media. They'll push and push. But I mean, for God's sakes, the best example of incitement that I could give, this is just cut and dry, is a bunch of black racists yelled at a bunch of white kids in Washington, D.C. from Covington High School. And then when the media misrepresented that story and the kids started getting death threats to the point where the school had to shut down, the media still kept going with the narrative and then decided to look into basketball games from that school from 5 years earlier. Now, if I made comments about some kids and then they started getting death threats and I realized I was wrong, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. But not the media. They didn't see if there's any other dirt that could justify these kids getting death threats. They knew that their rhetoric was actually leading to death threats for these kids, and they didn't care at all because, cultural Marxism. So it doesn't matter that you're a kid.
Right.
You chose to go up against the Native American and black people, so that's all that matters.
Right. And just to make it clear, none of us here want death threats against anybody. None of us want any of that. We're just applying their standards to their own actions. And we're saying, why are their standards not applied to what they do? We're not making an excuse. We're not trying to justify violence or anything like that. None of us want that.
And I'm not even blaming. Now, the thing's a little different, but in general, I'm not blaming it. Like when some MAGA hat person gets punched, I'm not going to blame Anna Navarro. She's an idiot, but it's still that person's fault.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, like exactly what you said there, Dronetek. If you're going to have some sort of standard and say, oh, when the other side does this, it's incitement to violence, then you should hold yourself to that same standard. So the media is constantly talking about, oh, Trump, when Trump says this, when Trump says lock her up to Hillary, that's putting Hillary in danger. But when the media in a few years says Trump's a Russian spy, or Trump's the next Hitler, or Trump's going to lock gay people up, or Trump's going to kick every brown person out of the country, etc., they never look at themselves and go, oh, is that us inciting violence? Of course not. It's just another example. If they didn't have double standards, they wouldn't have any,
Yeah.
Right.
And you know what? That's what drives me. It's probably what drives you guys. Just seeing what's going on, and we see what's happening, and we just want to call it out. I don't even see myself as a partisan. I'm not some lockstep Republican. There are no Republicans, zero Republicans that inspire me. Okay, none of these people do. And so, except for Robert. Robert inspires me. I wish if he was running on a national level, I would vote for him in the second, or SJG for that matter. But I don't
think they're going to let me in.
But, I think that's what we do. That's why we're out here doing what we do. And we just want to call this crap out. And we're pretty much powerless. All we can do is try to let people know and hope it spreads. I mean, we don't want violence. I think we all see violence at the end of this, right? I don't see this ending any other way unless we. That's why I'm doing this. I'm hoping it's like you're a time traveler and you're trying to stop an event from happening, and so you're going out there doing your best to talk about it, but not, and I feel like that sometimes. We're probably not going to stop it, but we're doing our best.
Well, if you think about what happened after the 2016 election, right, and how you have that famous picture of the homely girl on the ground crying, and throwing her hands up in the air, and you have nothing against homely people. I mean, it is what it is. I'm just saying that's a descriptor. But, the meltdown that happened in 2016 because of the shock, just now they've had 4 years to absorb it and to think about what's happened, and also to experience, the conservatives. And I think it's a good thing, but to them, it absolutely rubs them the wrong way, right? I mean, everything we stand for, they think is they hate above all and everything else, all that's good and holy. Can you imagine what kind of does worry me? And I've thought about lately, it's like, holy crap, what happens when he wins in 2020? What are they going to do? I seriously am worried about, honestly believe that, the security on him has got to be over the top, because I worry about him being assassinated because of, and that probably
people are going to feel justified. The media is practically telling people to assassinate him.
Yeah, I know. And we're now probably on the Secret Service list for just even mentioning that. So, but that's the truth, man. I mean, what's going to happen in 2020 when he wins again, or the opposite? What happens if some gun grabbing lunatic, which there's no way he's going to, but is it Buttigieg or Swalwell? What if Swalwell was to win? Holy balls, Batman! Sorry, Cindy, but that is going to be insanity.
Well,
Swalwell, hold on real quick. Okay. Let me just say Swalwell has no chance, thank God. The man is a complete idiot, and he is a danger to himself and everybody else. Because what he supports would absolutely bring on civil war. And then what his response to that is, we'll just nuke you. Fuck that guy. And I'm sorry, Cindy.
Sorry, Cindy. Dave Gilbert said we should name our stream Sorry, Cindy.
a Democrat wins and there is 10% of the kind of visceral reaction that you saw from the Democrats against Trump in 2016, there would be so many people arrested. The media would say, there are riots on the street. We can't be safe. Oh, these violent Trump supporters.
Right.
We knew they wouldn't accept the results of the election.
Oh, yeah. They would say it's an army.
Right. That's what they would say. And they would justify military or police, whatever it took to go in and to tell people to shut up. Now, I will say, here's the thing. Like, even if you get someone like Swalwell or even Bernie, they're not going to be able to do a lot of the crazy stuff they want, because in order to do that, which that's what they want and that's what they're leading to.
Time out though. Hang on. I don't know about that, Robert, because you think about it, like we had just talked about earlier, they have all of the, they have all the media in their pocket, 90% of it. They have all Silicon Valley in their pocket. Yeah. They have all of the, you know, now they have the House, right? I mean, they don't have the Senate, but they have the House. I don't know what he can't get past. And now you have all these crazy lunatic millennials that are just don't have anything about anything about politics or reality. They're just going off the emotional rhetoric that Bernie is spitting. I don't know what they can or they couldn't get done, and how much that would incite even more violence in the country.
They would need a big event to do something like that. And I'm not putting that beyond them, but they would need something really terrible to happen. What they want is to do it incrementally. And as long as, like, I don't trust polls, but I think there's some truth to it. Like, as long as Trump's around, its polling's gone up by a lot. It's probably going to go up again after today. He's up to like 46 on an aggregate. But as long as there's that many supporters, I don't think they want full out war on the street that they might have a chance of losing. What they want is to be able to do something like that when there's like 70% approval to do something like that. Right. So they might be able to do it in the areas they control. But I just don't see them saying, we're going to load up and we're going to start coming into, like, you know, the Rust Belt and start taking weapons, where you're going to have local sheriff. You already see that one sheriff, I forget where he was at, that was like, yeah, I'm going to refuse to enforce the laws that are already on the books. So,
right. It was multiple sheriffs in multiple counties that basically said they weren't going to comply
so
with that.
So I don't know, but yeah, I mean, the whole point is, you're right about 2022 as well. With if Trump wins again, yeah, there'll be a breakdown. And my question is, like, I have all these friends that are like, Trump's the devil. I'm like, what has he done? Like,
Think of the epic.
Can you name me the things he's done that you hate so much? You know,
right? Think of the epic stream we're gonna have, because we're gonna have the three of us or more. We're gonna have a stream that night, guys. Everybody watching, we're gonna have some sort of epic stream that night. I'm telling you right now. But
no, for sure, dude. Let's. I'm bringing drinks, man, and we're doing this upright.
You know what? I don't know how many of you watched. So I watched Trump. My wife and I, the night of the election, 2016. We watched Crowder. And we watched his stream. Did any of you guys watch that?
I tried to, but then that's when it got locked down, right?
Really? Down. It might have. Yeah, it might have, because I think we switched over to. Yeah, because I think it started on YouTube and then ended on Facebook. But it was insane because we were all trash. My wife and I were trash. They were all trash. And then it was late in the night, and we saw that Trump was going to win, and it was the most insane thing. I think you can watch it on YouTube. I highly recommend it. But
are you talking about the election one, not the Oscar?
The election night. The election night. Yeah. It was great. It was epic, and we're going to do that. We're going to do it again.
That would be fun. That would be so fun. You know, really, honestly, who's going to be his contender? I mean, you have
nobody.
No, I know. I mean, and you have all these, and they're just pitching these crazy ideas that really have no traction. 16-year-old voters and reparations, and they're just trying to get crazier and crazier and crazier with what they can offer to buy off the vote. Which isn't that a form? I mean, this is something I've always raised or thought about. Isn't that a form of racism in and of itself? I mean, this patronizing of the African American community. It just seems. I mean, and that's what the Blexit's doing, right? They're raising awareness to that, but. To me, it's like this patronizing thing. Why can you not see through that and realize this is, in a way, a soft form of racism to you? They think you're too dumb to catch it. I don't know. Maybe I'm
right. No, you're absolutely right, dude. You're absolutely right.
Bigotry of low expectations. I said, you know, it's not someone I'm a huge fan of or anything, but I remember Charles Barkley, the basketball player. He came out like 3-4 years ago and was like, "Hey, black people, if you're smart, just stop voting Democrat for one election." Because they take you for granted. They never do anything for you. They just know that they could fearmonger every year during the election. You'll vote for them, and then they go back to ignoring you for 3 years.
Right.
And that's true. Yeah. You know,
I have friends. I have good friends, black friends, and these certain black friends, if they're watching, they date white women, and these white women all are furiously anti-white. And I don't get that.
Yeah.
Anyway. And these
Oh, it's a
people
white
hate-
privilege thing, man. That's the way they can come out and be woke, and they can show their pseudo appreciation or pseudo wokeness, if you will,
Right. And
because they understand they're white, and then that's
Right.
that's a bad thing.
You're absolutely right. And I can attest to this because I used to be that way. I tell people often, I used to go back to like the late 90s, early 2000s. I was a left-winger. I remember, and this is funny, I'll tell this quick little story, just real quick. I went out, my Ohio State every year has Black Heritage Festival, look it up. And one year they invited the Black Israelites, I didn't know who they were back then. They literally invited those people to come and speak on OSU campus. They came and set up right in front on a big stage, right in front of the dorms, where they started spouting, enslave the white man and all this. And me and this girl I was dating at the time were walking around, because I'm a worldly liberal guy, right? I'm the only white guy out there. And these people are spouting all this to the crowds clapping. Crowds of black students clapping and cheering it on. And that was the first thing that really kind of clicked in my mind. So I am not anti-black. I'm not racist. I'm all for all of us getting along and doing something together. But they will never paint us that way. They're always going to paint us as like these evil monsters. And I've never understood why people on the left eat it up so easily. They just,
there's an appeal in being told that you're a victim. It's like a dopamine rush or something, right?
It's a dopamine rush. You're right.
Right. You're the underdog. Everyone's out to get you. And it's a convenient excuse. Everything that's happened to you bad in life. Not, there's the reason. It's not because of choices you made. Anything you achieve, it's because you had to try harder. Anything you fail at, it's because the system screwed you. And there is, if you're told that from the time you're young until you're told that generationally, then what do you think the result's going to be? You can almost hardly blame people, Yeah,
I mean, I remember being in high school and thinking, just after college and all this happened. And it's like, man, all through high school and everything, all we learned about was how the white man screwed over everybody. And I started thinking about that and learning about other history and learning there's a bigger context to all that. And it's like, this isn't going to end well. I remember thinking that this isn't going to end well. They're like, really, these people are going to grow up. You're going to have generations of people with a chip on their shoulder, and they just look at people with white skin and think you're to blame for this. And that's where we're at now. I mean, that's
exactly. And then take away racial lines. They do it on gender, on sexual preference lines, on income. Right. That's what cultural. Right. That's what cultural Marxism is. They seek to divide you so that they could have this power. And so, that's I'm with you 100%. I don't care about anything.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, Robert, but
no, that's it.
But no, I'm doing actually some research on this right now because I want to do a video on privilege, right? So I've been for the last week just studying the last week. I'm I'm an expert on the matter. No, but I've been hurting my brain with this stuff to where it's like Peggy McIntosh back in '89 was the one who published the paper White Privilege, unpacking your privilege knapsack or whatever it is. And, and how privilege intertwines with what we're talking about, intersectionality, right? Where you're always trying to become more of a victim. Whoever can put the right combination together is more of a victim. And then that has to, that is, there's so much logical fallacies in that. And it's so incoherent that now to get around the incoherency of it, we have to add postmodernism to it, right? Which postmodernism says up and down is up and up is down, and black is white and white is black, and nothing means nothing and everything's subjective. So now we add that to it. So that gets through the logical incoherencies of intersectionality. But then what they add to that is that cultural Marxism, which a lot of people say is a conspiracy theory, which is rich coming from the left, right? Especially coming from postmodernists that say there is no binary, there is no male, there is no female, and then you're going to tell me that cultural Marxism is a made up word? Oh my gosh, you need to go back to sleep, take a nap, because in cultural economic portion that was in Marxism, right? And just places it was social culture. Now culture is the replacement. You meld all those together and we have what is spreading wildly through our society and cultures, to where if we have any kind of dissenting opinions, us, right? And we're like, well, wait a minute, let's talk about this. No, you either need to recognize your white privilege and realize you're part of the problem, or you can't even have a voice. It's a very convenient way to shut down any kind of dialogue.
Yeah, I agree. And that's pretty obviously the goal of all of this. It's why we're here today. It's why we're talking about, I think Robert might have got dropped, but and it's probably a good time to start cutting out here, but because I can
yeah.
hear my daughter upstairs screaming, and my wife is about like 2 weeks from giving birth. So,
oh wow! Congratulations, man.
Oh, thank
Yeah,
you.
congrats if you could hear me.
Oh, he's back.
There he is.
There he is. But
Yeah.
hey, guys, we're going to try to wrap this up. Amazing discussion. I freaking love you guys, Robert and SJG. You guys are great. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this show with me. I really appreciate it. And
No problem.
yeah, and I encourage everybody to check both of them out. They're very talented guys. They are up-and-comers. They are going to be big here at some point. So get in early, subscribe to their channels, check them out. And
give me a sub. I'd love it.
Yes, and I'm going to keep working with these guys. We're all going to keep working together. In fact, to that point, if you're interested in joining our Discord channel, this is where we coordinate. I'm going to give you a link here. Real quick. I should have done this beforehand. 1 second. So take this link. Sign up to our Discord channel. You can join us. We're coordinating here. We're strategizing. We're getting smaller channels together to try and do something bigger. So come to Discord, talk to us, join us. We'll do more. And keep coming back to our channel, or my channel. Subscribe to SJG and Robert. And I really appreciate do you guys want to say anything real quick before we leave?
Sorry. I was just going to say Twitter, as my Twitter handle is at PerspectiveSJG. I'd like to get some more followers there. And yeah, just please sub up to my channel. That'd be great. And big shout out to Dronetek, man, for, for just connecting with me and networking with me. I love your stuff, man, and I just appreciate the opportunity so much. So
yeah, I want to say real quick that anybody who's been with this channel a while, the night of the State of the Union is when I got demonetized. It was literally as I started the live stream of the State of the Union, and I was supposed to have SJG on that night. We were going to talk about it, and I was so freaking messed up after that I didn't want to do anything. So that's when I met that guy, and he's been very supportive ever since. But Robert.
Yeah, and it was great to work with you, SJ. I look forward to working with you in the future. And as always, Dronetek, you're awesome. I have a Twitter page, but I never use it, I'll be honest. So you could just follow me on. I know I should. Yeah, you can follow me on YouTube. I'm trying to put videos up daily, but this is always a blast, and I can't wait to do it again.
All right, guys. Yeah. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and leave. We're going to end this on CNN Lies again, just because I freaking love it. I freaking love it. I can't tell you how much I love it. I do. It's genuine. I freaking love it.
Man.
You did. You can't. I asked this guy to do it, and literally like the next day it was done, and it was brilliant. So I'm gonna end on that, and thank you everybody. Come back, keep coming back, and I'll have a video tomorrow. It probably won't be morning, probably afternoon. And until next time, thanks for coming.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.
To this country, when the President of the United States is called Mexican immigrants, rapists, and criminals, he then went on to call asylum seekers animals and an infestation.
You like to turn the page and then try to rearrange just a thing or two. Close my mind. Though I'm gonna find a way, point out all the BS you say, believe me, it's true. Tell me lies. Yeah, tell me lies, tell me DNC lies. Tell me lies, tell me lies. Your liberal talking points you can't disguise. Can't disguise, no you can't disguise. Tell me lies, tell me CNN lies. We can see you are making plans, confuse us so we don't understand all the reasons why.
In fact, FBI agents sent an informant to talk to two campaign advisors only after.
TDS has broken your heart, so you try to tear us apart. Can we give truth a try? Tell us lies, tell us CNN lies. Tell us lies, out of context you try to disguise. Tell us lies, tell us DNC lies. Tell us lies.
They may have had someone who was talking to them in the campaign, but
The Obama derangements and
A horrible day. Wait a minute, I'm not finished. I'm not finished, fake news.
You try to turn the page, take what was said and then rearrange just a thing or two. Close my mind. Without your light you can't find a way. So you say what he did and say though we can see it's true.
But I say the MS-13, you don't have that.
Tell us lies, tell us CNN lies. Tell us lies, won't you tell us lies? Out of context, you try to disguise.
MS-13 is particularly violent.
Disguise, you try to disguise. Tell us lies, tell us DNC lies. Tell us lies, won't you tell us lies? You leave a talking point you can't disguise. Can't disguise, won't you tell us lies? Tell us lies, tell us EDS lies. Tell us lies, won't you tell us lies? You live a talking point you can't disguise. You can't disguise, so you tell us lies. Tell us lies, tell us EDS lies.
To this country, when the President of the United States is called Mexican immigrants, rapists, and criminals, he then went on to call asylum seekers animals and an infestation.
You like to turn the page and then try to rearrange just a thing or two. Close my mind. Though I'm gonna find a way, point out all the BS you say, believe me it's true. Tell me lies. Yeah, tell me lies, tell me DNC lies. Tell me lies, tell me lies. Your liberal talking points you can't disguise. Can't disguise, no you can't disguise. Tell me lies, tell me CNN lies. We can see you are making plans, confuse us so we don't understand all the reasons why.
In fact, FBI agents sent an informant to talk to two campaign advisors only after.
TDS has broken your heart. So you try to tear us apart, can we give truth a try? Tell us lies, tell us CNN lies. Tell us lies, tell us lies. Out of context, you try to disguise. Tell us lies, tell us DNC lies. Tell us lies.
they may have had someone who was talking to them in the campaign, but
The Obama derangements and
A horrible day. Wait a minute, I'm not finished. I'm not finished, fake news.
You try to turn the page, take what was said and then rearrange just a thing or two. Close my mind. Without your light you can't find a way. So you say what he did and say though we can see it's true.
But I say the MS-13, you don't have that.
Tell us lies, tell us CNN lies. Tell us lies, won't you tell us lies? Out of context, you try to disguise.
MS-13 is particularly violent.
You try to disguise. Tell us lies, tell us DNC lies. Tell us lies, won't you tell us lies? You live a talking point you can't disguise. Can't disguise, so you tell us lies. Tell us lies, tell us TDS lies. Tell us lies, won't you tell us lies? You live a talking point you can't disguise. You can't disguise, so you tell us lies. Tell us lies, tell us TDS lies.
To this country, when the President of the United States has called Mexican immigrants rapists and criminals, he then went on to call asylum seekers animals and an infestation.
You'd like to turn the page and then try to rearrange just a thing or two. Close my mind. Though I'm gonna find a way, point out all the BS you say, believe me it's true. Tell me lies. Yeah, tell me lies, tell me DNC lies. Tell me lies, tell me lies. Your little talking points you can't disguise. Can't disguise, no you can't disguise. Tell me lies, tell me CNN lies. We can see you are making plans, confuse us so we don't understand all the reasons why.
In fact, FBI agents sent an informant to talk to two campaign advisors only
TDS has broken your heart. So you try to tear us apart, can we give truth a try? Tell us lies, tell us CNN lies. Tell us lies, tell us lies. Out of context, you try to disguise. Tell us lies, tell us DNC lies. Tell us lies.
They may have had someone who was talking to them in the campaign, but
The Obama derangement syndrome.
Horrible day. Wait a minute. I'm not finished. I'm not finished, fake news.
You try to turn the page, take what was said and then rearrange just a thing or two. Close my mind. Without your light you can't find a way. So you say what he did and say though we can see it's true.
But I'm saying the MS-13, you don't have that.
Tell us lies, tell us CNN lies. Tell us lies, won't you tell us lies? Out of context, you try to disguise.
MS-13 is particularly violent.
You try to disguise. Tell us lies, tell us DNC lies. Tell us lies, won't you tell us lies? You leave a talking point you can't disguise. Can't disguise, so you tell us lies. Tell us lies, tell us TDS lies. Tell us lies, won't you tell us lies? You live a talking point you can't disguise. You can't disguise, so you tell us lies. Tell us lies, tell us TDS lies.
To this country, when the President of the United States has called Mexican immigrants rapists and criminals, he then went on to call asylum seekers animals and an infestation.
You like to turn the page and then try to rearrange just a thing or two. Close my mind. Though I'm gonna find a way, point out all the BS you say, believe me, it's true. Tell me lies. Yeah, tell me lies, tell me D&T lies. Tell me lies, tell me lies. Your liberal talking points you can't disguise. Can't disguise, no you can't disguise. Tell me lies, tell me CNN lies. We can see you are making plans, confuse us so we don't understand all the reasons why.
In fact, FBI agents sent an informant to talk to two campaign advisors only after.
TDS has broken your heart, so you try to tear us apart. Can we give truth a try? Tell us lies, tell us CNN lies. Tell us lies. Out of context you try to disguise. Tell us lies, tell us D&T lies. Tell us lies.
They may have someone who was talking to them in the campaign,
The Obama derangement syndrome.
Horrible day. Wait a minute. I'm not finished. I'm not finished, fake news.
You try to turn the page, take what was said and then rearrange just a thing or two. Close my mind. Without your light you can't find a way. So you say what he did and say, though we can see it's true.
But I say the MS-13, you don't have that.
Tell us lies, tell us CNN lies. Tell us lies, won't you tell us lies? Out of context you try to disguise.
MS-13 is particularly violent.
Disguise, you try to disguise. Tell us lies, tell us D&T lies. Tell us lies, won't you tell us lies? You leave a talking point you can't disguise. Can't disguise, won't you tell us lies? Tell us lies, tell us TDS lies. Tell us lies, won't you tell us lies? You leave a talking point you can't disguise. You can't disguise, so you tell us lies. Tell us lies, tell us TDS lies.
To this country, when the President of the United States has called Mexican immigrants rapists and criminals, he then went on to call asylum seekers animals and an infestation.
You like to turn the page and then try to rearrange just a thing or two. Close my mind. Though I'm gonna find a way, point out all the BS you say, believe me, it's true. Tell me lies. Yeah, tell me lies, tell me D&T lies. Tell me lies, tell me lies. Your liberal talking points you can't disguise. Can't disguise, no you can't disguise. Tell me lies, tell me CNN lies. Can see you are making plans. Confuse us so we don't understand all the